Hello, everyone. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Dark Souls Cinders mod and what it's kind of about. It's very large. It changes uh, most of the bosses to have new moves or just changes them altogether. It adds new monsters, enemies, whichever one you want to call it. Uh, all over the place, in places where there normally weren't monsters or enemies. Some new features as well are on most of the armors. Uh, the poison and toxic resistance by 25%. That's all that is added in this game. Or mod, I mean. Uh, so it adds quite a bit there. Any uh, or covenant, any covenant you go into, has special abilities with them as well. Normally, they just mean you're in a different covenant, but now they'll give extra magic damage or more stamina. It boosts your max HP, FP, and stamina while making the enemies harder to kill. Uh, Things like that. Also, in this mod, you can upgrade accessories such as the rings with primordial fragments at this fellow here, Magnum Ursus. And if you look at the overview, it requires primordial fragments. To get primordial fragments, you have to beat bosses, and they have a chance to drop. There's also other ways to get them by meeting certain requirements. Alright, next up we have curses, which are kind of obvious. Their curses come with a small benefit. So disable all the curses I currently have. And like the Valor one, it empowers bosses, makes them a lot stronger. And you can also get a chance of extra primordial fragments to upgrade your rings. There's quite a few in here, and you can go through them. There's just like the Curse of Attraction is probably one of the most notable ones. It adds special enemies that don't appear without this curse turned on. So if you want to have some more enemies show up randomly throughout, they're only in specific places, but if you want more enemies, that's the one you need. Alright, and up next we have Soul Coalescence.
Ah, how
And what that is if you have a skill that gets to 99, you can use this to get a special effect on you. It costs 500 souls per level that you are, your total level. And each of the different bonuses are for strength. It is boosts your equipment load by 30%. And dexterity is max stamina by 30%. Intelligence is max FP or mana by 30%. Faith is HP by 30%. And luck gives you more souls by 30%. So that's an incentive to actually get your skills to 99 and kind of help you out along the way once you're kind of towards end game, maybe New Game Plus or even further. Next up, we have Infusions. Infusions are for weapons, shields, and catalysts. Catalysts are for using spells.
Wasn't easy.
You can read any of the infusions here. I'll put them on the screen for just a couple moments each. Alright. To get those going, you go to the Infused Weapon drop down, and you can choose between shields or weapons. Just tap on one, and pretty much you can use any of the gems you have to infuse them. You can see their different scaling at the bottom, or different kind of damage throughout it. And it also gives that special effect, but it will not show you on the menu unless the weapon is already that type. So if we go back, and we go to purchase items from Andre here, you can already get the magical essence is for upgrading shields to any of its infusions. If you go to the infusion for shields, all it costs is just magical essence, that's it, and 2,500 souls. So easy enough. But if you go in here, you can also get any gem you want for upgrading any of your weapons. There's also the Shriveling Stone to undo it if you didn't like the one that you went with. There's also a bunch of basic weapons that you can use in here, and shields and arrows. Pretty much just a lot of the basics that you really would need. Okay, and next up we have boss souls and their uses, and the totems that you get from bosses. And if we go to my inventory, I should have, a totem of Corrupted Gundyr. If we actually use this, you can revive him and fight him over and over. You can get an infinite amount of his soul, the soul of Corrupted Gundyr. With this soul, you can come to this fellow here and transpose them. In here, he carries all, if not all, most of all of the boss transpositions. So you can find any boss in here, and there's one for Corrupted Gundyr there. It's Atonement. Draws enemies to the caster and boosts absorption. So, it's not that bad. It gives another spell, or it's a miracle, I'm sorry about that. And he should have, oh, there we go. It's a trinket to make your weapon cause curse. So you can wear that and curse the enemies if you need to. There's also one for slash damage. So there's a lot in here that can be made into a special weapon, or new armor, I believe, is in here as well. I know it's a lot of spells and weapons. Not armor, shields. A lot of shields, rings, and such. And now we will talk about the armors and weapons that are in this game. Or more of mod. It adds from Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, and I believe some other inspired weapons, shields, armors, rings. It just adds them all to the game. Alright, next up we'll talk about this fellow here, Alchemist Gigi. And what this NPC does is you can purchase little scrolls, and it changes what you look like for a time being, but also gives you a little bit of bonuses. They're not many, but some of the other things that are pretty cool that you can do here is just visual transformations. So, like if you want to go with any kind of costume, like the dragon form from Dark Souls 1, you can go ahead and do that. Just go on back and go to the body transformation, Dark Souls 1. There you go. Dragon form from Dark Souls 1. There's a ton of different transformations you can do in there. There's also visuals, such as, Master of Humanity. It's just a whole bunch of different effects that you can put on yourself if you want to just kind of do some role play of any kind. And there's also perspective, so you can change your field of view, the camera, things like that. So if you wanted to bring it pretty far out so you can see around a little bit better, you can do so. You can bring it way in close, or you can just bring it back to standard. Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk to you about is the changes to the world that it also makes in this mod. And some of them are like small things, such as this right here used to have a door here, and you had to buy a key to make it in. Obviously, it doesn't even exist anymore, so it just saves you a little bit of money from buying that. And another thing that they have changed in this game is they added summoning to it, and they just call it conjuration. But you can summon a number of different companions just to kind of help you out. And let's see. Yeah, these are some of the spells that you can use for your partner. And if we go to purchase item, there we go. Conjure Hollow, the Hound, Minor Restoration, Mark of Attraction, and the Banishing Ritual. So there's only 2 at the moment in here, but it just adds another layer to everything that you can play or role play in this game, such as being a necromancer or having your own partners going along around with you. Another thing I needed to touch up on is that you can ascend your spells to make them stronger. You get the upgrade equipment you need from the let's see, the Scholars Pact, if I remember correctly. Crystal fragments, yes it is. And you collect those, and you can use them on your with your spells to one of the magicians. I think it's Quillen, I believe, and he will upgrade them to a new version. And depending on the spell, it will depend on how many of the crystal fragments you need to have in order to get to the next level. And getting to the magician, you'll have to first find him out in the world, and then he'll come back to the main hub, and then you can do any upgrades from there. So one thing I have not touched up on just yet is the different modes that you can start the game as. There's of course standard mode. There's also explorer mode, which makes the game an easy mode. It's if you're not up for a huge amount of a challenge. It does reduce the amount of souls you get by a little bit, but it also gives you health regeneration, stamina recovery, resistance to all kinds of damage. I believe you can't upgrade your accessories in that mode, but I'll have to check on that. There is also Wanderer mode. You can't reinforce your equipment, so you can't upgrade any weapons or shields or anything like that, but every boss you go and fight increases your damage by a small percentage, and it also gives you a buff based on the boss you fight. So, and there's also Mythic mode, which is pretty much hard mode for Dark Souls. Reduces your resistances against everything, and it removes your ability to upgrade your equipment. The Curse of Attraction that I talked about earlier, it permanently turns it on. You cannot turn it off. Any curses you choose, you do not get any bonus souls from them anymore. So turning on any additional curses will just be if you're a masochist, you can go for it. And about the only real gain to it is the Magnum Ursus guy. He has a secret shop that you can open up while in Mythic mode. That's really about it. When you start the game, you are immediately put into a tower, which usually you start in a graveyard. That is where you choose which mode you want to start, and also where you want to start. So your starting location, you could put it as Firelink Shrine. You could put it as random. You could choose any of the other locations from the list. If you want to go with a hard mode location at Lake Larthric Castle, go for it if you're up to it. Also, another mode I forgot to talk about was Gauntlet mode. Whenever you start that mode, you're immediately put at Firelink Shrine, and you're given some tokens. 2 weapons, 4 armors, and 1 accessory. And you're also given the Coiled Sword fragment. You can't warp with the bonfire, so you can't go anywhere except for the memories. It adds a new NPC at Firelink called Oathkeeper, and he'll take you to the next boss. Pretty much, Gauntlet mode is just a boss rush mode. Pretty much from him, you can reset the current progress, reallocate your attributes, purchase items, equipment, spells, things like that. Each boss that you beat will drop souls, their boss soul, and usually a token of some kind. Whenever you beat the Soul of Cinder, the final boss of the game, the main game, not the DLCs, it will ask you if you want to play New Game Plus. So, the gauntlets are for if you're wanting to constantly keep up with just bosses, don't care about any of the walking around, getting around, it just throws you into the heat of the battle. So, that I could see it be good for some more pro players. There's also Onslaught mode, which is just Gauntlet mode, but it also mixes in Wanderer mode, which all it does is boss rush, but every boss you beat is giving you a small damage boost and a special effect every time you beat each one. So it just throws a little bit of pizzazz on it. So you can choose that one too if you want. In the beginning, you can also skip Journey, which pretty much immediately throws you into New Game Plus. So if you're really going for that masochist kind of way of playing this game, you can skip the journey, throw it into Mythic mode, and have at it. That's if you're any good at the game or just really like the punishment. They also have added about 40-ish new classes to the game with all different kinds of stats all across the board with different weapons, spells, you name it. So you can have a completely different kind of character than you did in the original Dark Souls 3. You can have a crab character if you want. That's one of the selections, even. A stone golem, practically character. Go for it. I mean, there's all different kinds. And, of course, their stats have to reflect on what armor they're having and what weapons they're wielding. So, just pick what suits you the best and go from there. Try it out. One thing I also wanted to talk about was these bloodthirsty throwing knives and fire bombs. Pretty much they're a infinite use item, but first they have to be charged with bloodthirst. Bloodthirst is generated, I think, 5 every second, and you also get additional bloodthirst by damaging enemies. The amount that you get for damaging is entirely based on which weapon type that you have equipped. And you could pretty much have up to an infinite source of throwing weapons or consumable weapons at your disposal as long as you have time. And I think that'll just about do it for everything I know at the moment. If there's anything I missed, let me know down in the comments. Please just like and subscribe. Goodbye.